Hi everybody, I'm Jason Snell from Macworld, and this is my video review of the third generation iPad. This is the new iPad. Apple's not calling it the iPad 3, it's the third generation iPad, and it's a lot like the iPad 2. It's about the same size, it's slightly thicker, although honestly I couldn't tell the difference, and I put this in a lot of iPad cases and it fit. It's slightly heavier, and I could tell that it's a little bit heavier than the iPad 2, but it's really close. You basically won't notice the difference. So Apple calls this the Retina display because it's so high resolution you actually can't see the individual pixels on this display. It's 3.1 million pixels packed in here. Now, the way that works is it's actually 4 times the pixels of the previous iPad. For every one dot on an old iPad screen, there are now 4 dots that can add that much more resolution. This is actually hard for me to explain on a video because this screen is actually higher resolution than the highest resolution of HD video. In fact, if you play a 1080p movie like you'd find on a Blu-ray on here, the iPad actually has to scale it up a little bit because it'll be too small if it just shows it at its native resolution. It's that high quality a display. So what can I say? The text is sharper, photos are bright and beautiful. It's a huge high density picture. The third generation iPad has this new iSight, recycled name alert, camera on the back. It is much better than the camera in the iPad 2, which was really only suitable for 720p video. And this new camera, it's good. It's a 5 megapixel camera, not quite up to the par of the iPhone 4S, but probably comparable to the iPhone 4. I think it's safe to say it's the best tablet camera ever, and it's one of the best mobile device cameras on the market. So it's a good camera. The FaceTime camera on the front, really only suitable for video chat. It's no different from the one on the iPad 2. But this camera on the back, the iSight, it's good. We actually found for video shooting, it's very good, even in low light. When the iPhone 4S came out, it had some voice features. Well, the new iPad has voice features too, but it doesn't have all the ones you might expect. There is no Siri. What is there is dictation. I'm pretty sure dictation can be useful, comma, though, period. As before, Apple is offering 2 different versions of the iPad. The one that's got the black cutout like this, that's $130 more, and that's the cellular version. Now with this version of the iPad, you now have access to LTE networks, which sometimes are called 4G networks, although AT&T has some 4G networks that aren't LTE. They're actually sort of 3G, and it's confusing. But when you're on an LTE network, and there are almost 300 cities that Verizon has with LTE, AT&T is lagging behind. They're trying to build up their network, but they still have about 30 cities that they say have LTE. I tried this in San Francisco where there's an AT&T LTE installation, and it was really fast. It was basically as fast as my office Wi-Fi, and twice as fast as the fastest AT&T GSM connection that I could get. So LTE is really fast. So to sum up, the new iPad is exactly that. It's a new iPad. It's not that different from the iPad 2, but it does have a much better, brighter, clearer Retina display. It's got a nicer rear-facing camera, and it's got that super fast LTE cellular networking if you buy the cellular versions for an extra $130. Now, if you have an iPad 2, should you upgrade? Maybe if you really want that screen or that cellular networking or that camera, but the iPad 2 is a good product and it's just as fast as the iPad 3 in regular use, and now it's $100 cheaper. So if you're in the market, you should consider that as well. Now, if you've got an older iPad, I think you will be feeling a little itchy and saying, I might want to upgrade, and I think that's not a bad idea. I can't speak for you and your personal life. I will say this, my wife had an original iPad and I placed an order for a new one last week. I figure it's time. So I think there'll be some upgrades from the iPad 1. But if I had to guess, what I'd say is that most of these third generation iPads will probably go to brand new iPad buyers. The iPad market is growing rapidly. Apple created this whole new category of tablets, and 2 years later there really isn't a lot of serious competition. The iPad is dominant, and what the iPad third generation model does is just crank everything up a notch. It's not this revolutionary product that's radically different from what came before, because it doesn't need to be. The iPad is doing incredibly well right now. What the iPad 3 does is make some of what it does even better, especially that screen, the camera, and the fast networking. And if that's what you're after, the iPad 3 will deliver. That's my video review. I'm Jason Snell from Macworld. Thanks for watching.